The user unnamed. We'll call them User X.
Okay.
How do you justify campaigning for someone who does not share your beliefs on abortion law, exceptions, or a nationwide ban? If you become president over the next 4 years, would you favor a ban?
Well, first of all, Donald Trump's view is very clear here, and he won the Republican primary, right? So I don't agree with the user that Donald Trump and I have some massive difference of opinion here, but Donald Trump is the leader of the Republican Party, so his policy determines what we're going to do as a Republican governing coalition. And what he said is very simple, that he wants to, first of all, make it easier for people to choose life to begin with, make it less expensive, help address child care costs, and make it easier for young families to choose life in the first place. But on abortion policy, specifically, what happened when the Supreme Court made its decision is that individual states, meaning the people in those states, get to make this decision. And that's been Donald Trump's, I think, consistent view, not just over the last couple of years, but really over his entire time in public life. Now, look, I come at this, and I'll be honest with you, I do care about protecting the vulnerable. I do think about this issue and how to make it easier for people to choose life. And I also recognize, Chris, I mean, look, I was raised in a family, I was raised in a neighborhood where I saw a fair number of young women have unexpected pregnancies and choose to terminate those pregnancies because they felt like they didn't have any other options. And I think that very often what we miss on my side, what we miss as Republicans, is that this is not people who are like enthusiastic about having abortion. Sometimes they feel like that's the only option available to them. And so what we, I think, ought to do as somebody who does want to promote the cause of life is to make it easier to choose life to begin with. And I think that if we do that, if we stop the crazy medical bills that young women come home with when they have a baby, if we make it easier to access child care, I actually think, one, we'll earn the trust of the American people, but two, we'll actually be pro-family in the fullest sense of the word. I think a lot of Democrats, when they hear pro-life, they assume, well, you know, and I even hear people say this on the campaign trail, that say, well, you're pro-birth, but you don't care about the baby, you don't care about the mom. I think we've got to earn people's trust, because I do care about the babies, and I do care about the moms, and I care about the dads. And I think there's something really scary happening in our country right now, where so many young families are choosing not to have children at all. They're choosing not to bring new life into the world. Even though they say they would like to, they feel like they can't afford it. That is such a failure of our present leadership that a lot of people would like to have families but can't. We got to change that.
Do you think that reproductive rights being on the ballot this time may affect the outcome of the election?
You know, it might, Chris, it might not. I'm not a political prognosticator. All I can do is make my best case to the American people, tell them what we actually plan to do when we're in office, and make our case and let the chips fall where they may. I mean, ultimately, I don't decide who the next president and vice president is. I guess I get one vote out of over 100 million, but it's going to be the voters who make those decisions. And so I leave the prognostication to other people. I just try to make the case that I think we can actually have a reasonable compromise position on this issue, where California makes its abortion policy, Michigan makes its abortion policy, Florida makes its abortion policy, and at the federal level, we make it easier for young families to choose life to begin with.
Hey, thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget, click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.